There were 5 cushioned chairs around the dining table. And then there was mine, a metal folding chair at the very end. It creaked every time I shifted, like it didn't belong just like me. Marlene raised her wine glass. To Celeste's new role at St. Mary's. Head of neurology by 33, what an achievement. Everyone clinked their glasses. I reached for my water alone. Rowan, ever the loyal husband, leaned in with that rehearsed grin. Your brilliance just keeps shining, babe. You're unstoppable. I stabbed a green bean and chewed slowly. You know, Marlene said, turning slightly toward me but never meeting my eyes, your sister sets the standard. Just try to follow it, okay? That was the table I sat at. Not once had I been invited to join business conversations or vacation planning. I was just there, a warm body in a cold seat. Have you ever been in a room where everyone sees through you like glass? The flashback came uninvited as usual. I was 17. The envelope had a red cardinal stamp and the embossed Stanford seal. I remember the rush of blood to my head, the breathlessness, the sheer disbelief, until Marlene snatched it from my hands. She read it first. Her face stayed blank. Only her lips twitched as she tore the letter in half. College isn't for everyone, she said. Not for everyone. Not for me. She threw the pieces in the trash. I didn't dig them out. I just stood there, stuck. That night, Celeste talked about her AP bio grade. Everyone beamed. I wondered if they knew what had just happened to me, or if they cared. That envelope, or what was left of it, still lives in the bottom drawer of my desk, a torn reminder of who I was supposed to be. I kept telling myself she meant well, that maybe somehow this was love. But betrayal wears many masks. Hers looked a lot like protection. 2 days ago, I got a letter from a debt collector. $12,000. Delinquent. I thought it was a scam, until I looked closer. The account had my name, my social security number. Only one person knew it. Celeste. I waited until she got home. She was in yoga pants and sipping her green smoothie. I held the letter out. Did you open a credit line in my name? She didn't even flinch. You weren't using it. You stole my identity. It's just temporary. I had some bills. Relax. Marlene walked in halfway. What's going on? She opened credit under my name, I said, trying to keep my voice level. Marlene frowned at me. Don't be selfish. Your sister needed help. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Not even my identity belonged to me anymore. Would you forgive a family member who stole from you and didn't even apologize? That night I sat in my car. The house glowed behind me. Warm, golden, oblivious. The radio buzzed into a podcast. A female founder. Anonymous. IPO. 20 million. Her story sounded like fiction, but it wasn't. Not anymore. I reached for the glove compartment, pulled out the crumpled letter. Not the original Stanford offer. Just the printout of my rejection. What Marlene told me. The lie I believed. I looked at it, then at the reflection in the rearview mirror. Maybe, I whispered, it's time I stopped sitting at the end of the table. There was a silence inside me that broke. I walked back into the house an hour later. Nobody noticed. In the quiet of the living room, I slipped into my father's old office. Dust clung to the air like memories. I opened the bottom drawer, laid the torn scholarship letter flat, closed it gently, then looked up at his photo on the shelf. His eyes behind those round glasses. Always kind, always absent. They'll know soon enough, I said, and walked out without looking back. The text came just after I pulled into the driveway. Family meeting tonight, 7:30 p.m. sharp. Your sister needs to clarify things. Marlene's tone was digital but unmistakable. A command, not a request. For years, they'd sat around that table deciding everything without me. Now, suddenly my chair was set. And not the folding one. The living room was dim. Drawn curtains holding back the late afternoon sun. Celeste sat upright, legs crossed too tightly. Rowan stood near the fireplace, checking his watch. Marlene perched on the edge of the couch, like a host about to open an intervention. "Elara," she said, "we need to talk about the loans." Celeste added, "I've always supported you. You know that." I said nothing, because they hadn't invited me in to talk. They invited me in to contain me. Have you ever been asked to join a conversation only to realize you're the target? Halfway through Marlene's monologue about family unity, I excused myself to the hallway and texted Aiden, "Need docs ready. SSN misuse, identity theft. Tonight." I opened my laptop on the side table, uploading scanned forms, flagged emails, credit reports. Aiden replied, "Filed for temporary injunction. Judge Cole will issue first notice tomorrow." I walked back in. "What is this?" Marlene said sharply. She'd seen the legal envelope sticking out of my bag. "Paperwork," I said, "to protect myself." Marlene's face darkened. "Why are you bringing law into this family?" "Because you left me no choice." Celeste leaned forward, eyebrows drawn in mock concern. "You're overreacting. This isn't a crime. It's just family finances." "No," I said level. "It's theft." Rowan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, grimaced, and muttered, "We might pull out the investor." There it was, the thing they cared about more than me. Perception. You see, the strongest move is the one they never expect. Mine was silent, strategic, already in motion. That silence didn't last long. At exactly 8:37 p.m., Fiona Ridge sent a message to the family group chat. Just one image, a press release headline, my name bold right under it. Elara Wynn, CEO of Wynn Innovations, closes $21 million acquisition deal with Orion Tech. I watched Marlene's fingers tremble as she tapped the screen. Celeste's jaw clenched, her nails digging into her thigh. Fiona followed up with, "She never told us she built this." Marlene hissed, "Fiona, delete that. Right now." But it was too late. The ripple had already spread. They thought I was small, voiceless. But now, they were watching me become something they couldn't ignore. "Do you remember the first time your truth cracked the shell they put you in?" 2 nights later, we were at a birthday dinner for Rowan's business partner. I'd been invited for support. Halfway through the salmon course, I stood, calmly. No anger, just precision. The lights dimmed as I clicked the remote. Slide 1 appeared on the screen behind me. $21M acquisition, Wynn Innovations. Gasps. Slide 2, wire transfers, legal documents, IPO preparation materials, bank statements, signatures. Rowan nearly knocked over his wine glass. Celeste stood, face drained of color. Marlene whispered something I couldn't hear. The room shifted from party to courtroom in seconds. "You wanted proof I wasn't enough." I asked, voice steady. "Here it is." The crowd turned, not just physically, but emotionally. Would you step up in silence or pull the curtain back, knowing what they'd see? After dinner, the crowd thinned. The air was cooler now, sharper. Marlene caught me near the foyer. "I'm sorry you feel overlooked," she said, voice syrupy and sharp. Celeste hovered behind her, arms crossed, adding, "We just didn't know." That was the problem. They didn't care to. "An apology without understanding," I said, "is just noise." Marlene looked at me like she wanted to reply, but I turned before she could. I didn't need her pity. I needed truth. And the real reckoning begins tomorrow. By sunrise, I was already at the Dallas office. The skyline was still blurred behind morning fog, but the calls had started. Investors, partners, even media. Everyone wanted to know if it was true. Rowan and Celeste had released a statement overnight, implying that I'd used family trust resources to leverage Wynn Innovations. Fabricated numbers, clever phrasing. It smelled of desperation. My phone buzzed again. Aiden Cross's name flashed. "They're filing a motion to freeze your accounts," he said. claiming misappropriation tied to a private family asset. I swallowed hard. They take aim, I murmured, at what they think they still own, my story. The screen lit up again. A screenshot of Celeste's lawyer's press briefing. My name under a heading. Potential conflict of interest. Elara win under review. It was war, and they were betting I wouldn't hit back publicly. Have you ever had someone try to rewrite your legacy while you were still standing? By evening, I knew exactly what to do. They were throwing a celebration at Delancey's, an upscale Dallas spot, honoring Celeste's latest promotion. A performance designed to drown out the truth. I arrived late. No fanfare. No RSVP. A waiter blinked at me before placing a menu in front of the empty seat. Their expressions faltered, but no one spoke. The projector flicked on, just as they reached for dessert. Slide 1, a ledger. Offshore accounts, linked to Rowan Hale. Slide 2, line-by-line transfers, Celeste's loan of $12,000 taken out in my name. Then, a short audio clip, my father's voice, grainy but clear. My youngest, she could outshine them all if they'd just let her. Silence. A heavy one. Marlene froze mid-sip. Celeste rose too fast, her chair screeching back. They couldn't even look at me. I let the projector run until it looped, then stood slowly. Not for applause, just clarity. What would you show to the ones who ignored your story? Later that night, I returned to my apartment. The city outside buzzed, but my space felt still. Safe. There was a knock at the door. Evelyn Shore stood there, calm as ever, holding a thin envelope. "It's from your father," she said. "He gave it to me before he passed." Inside was a letter. His handwriting. He'd left a sealed directive. Confirmation that I was the sole heir to Win Innovations seed capital. His blessing. His belief. "You were always going to rebuild our name," the letter said, "because you knew what it meant when no one else did." My hands trembled, but it wasn't grief. It was gratitude. Not for what I lost, but for finally being seen. Evelyn placed her hand on mine. "He always believed you'd make them silent." I smiled, tears warming the edges of my vision. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was legacy. This wasn't the end of their story. It was the start of mine. And tomorrow I'll choose where to sit. Sometimes grace is your loudest answer. The next evening, I walked into Delancey's one last time. Not through the front, through the service entrance. Clean, discreet. The family was gathered again. Their phones lit with notifications, statements, fallout, investor pullbacks. They didn't notice me until I was already leaving. No grand farewell, just a quiet stride across marble floors, briefcase in hand. No folding chair in sight. I paused by the door, looked back, not at them, but at the version of me they used to own. "I never needed that seat," I whispered. Then I walked away. "What seat will you refuse to take?"